Hi, and welcome back to the Wood Shop with Dirty Crow. I know, I'm just as surprised as you are. In my last video, somebody left a comment asking me to go over some of the advanced techniques with Intarsia, and truthfully, I'm not sure what they meant, but I thought to myself, you know what? One of the most common issues when you cut a piece that you don't like, that doesn't fit. So I thought that I would go ahead and talk about that today, because I know the obvious answer is, well, just recut it. And, well, you're not wrong, but you're not helpful. Unless you address some of the reasons you caused that mistake in the first place, you're just going to keep making that mistake. So let's talk about fixing an error in Intarsia. Something went wrong. You can see it fits really well right along there. But the ear's got these massive gaps. As I come down here, right where the face meets the tooth, the horn, the tusk, that's the word I'm looking for. We've got this massive gap. So here we are in Intarsia Advanced. Here's how we fix that mistake. So here's how these kind of mistakes happen. When you haven't glued anything down, when you haven't done any of the finish work, all of these pieces are just kind of independent and they shift around a lot. Typically what I like to do is trace out where the next piece is going to go. But you can see when you go to move pieces around, sometimes they don't quite line up right, sometimes they get big gaps, and then if you trace a piece that's not quite set right and you try to cut another piece to match it, that's when you end up with these massive gaps that I can stick a pencil in. Now these projects are made in stages. Any finished work isn't going to be completely flat. Any finished work is going to have different pieces raised up on little quarter-inch pieces of backing so that it looks three-dimensional, like it's coming at you. And because of that, that's how we're going to fix this. Right? I showed you a moment ago how when you're moving pieces around that aren't finished yet, they shift and they create these gaps. And so what we're going to do to correct the issue is we're just going to do some of the finish work now before we finish cutting the rest of it out, and we're going to put it on its backing. That way it's nice and solid, and when I go to retrace pieces like this face section that doesn't fit anymore, this won't move around. Full disclosure, the shifting problem doesn't stop just because you're making a backing, and you'll see that this is still all wiggly, and I cut out the part where the backing wasn't perfectly fitted. I had to go back through and chase things and cut things and trim things just so that they fit properly. So one of the fastest ways to fix the shifting problem when you're trying to put it on backing is you just choose a piece and you let that be your anchor piece. And as tempting as it is to go, oh, I'm going to use this big old skull as my anchor piece and butt everything up to that, the truth is, it doesn't matter if the skull is undercut a little bit. If it's not a perfect fit, that'll be concealed by the other pieces that attach to it. So the anchor piece needs to be something that's going to be a little bit more prominent and a little bit harder to conceal if you screw up. So my anchor piece is actually going to be this tusk down here. I want to make sure that it is glued as perfectly in place as it can be, and then everything else will be glued in association with where this lands. So let's get that going. So I lost some footage, and you'll notice that this is substantially further along than it looked like a moment ago. Same principles apply though. I've got the centerpiece on, and then in extension to that, I've got part of his side face, part of his cheek, but not that piece that I'd screwed up the cut on, and his ear. You can see the backing right there. So let's talk about making this piece fit, and then we'll get on with the project. So we're in handheld mode. Go away, fly. There's the pattern we've got traced out. There's the piece we're working on. We're just going to go ahead and tack that down with some carbon paper and trace it out, and then we'll set the finished piece on top of the one we're going to cut out and trace some more. Alright folks, moment of truth time. There's the tracing, there's the piece. We're going to go ahead and grab the piece that's all done up with the backing, and the idea is going to be that we just lay this on top here, and you can see there's that gap that we didn't want. So what we're going to do is just run a pencil along where we need that line to be, and it'll be all hunky-dory by the time we cut it out. Jumping ahead a little bit, I've got the wood set back on the pattern, and I've got the piece that we cut out just a moment ago, and I did all the sanding work, and it fits like a glove. We have closed that gap. Now those of you who are eagle-eyed might have noticed that what I've got doesn't actually line up with the pattern, and you'll find that with great frequency as you start looking around, that things in their actuality don't always match the pattern perfectly. But that's okay. As long as the finished product has cohesion within itself, you're sitting pretty. Well, that does it for this one. I hope that was helpful to you, and I didn't think you'd want to get out of here without seeing a finished product, so that's me jumping a few steps ahead. Well, thank you very much for tuning in, and until next time, happy building.